Hello and welcome back. So this is another lecture in the series of sensor arrays and imaging course. So in the last few weeks we have been discussing on the beamforming aspect, the receive beamforming aspect of any imaging system, and we all know that this is the process where we convert the raw channel data or raw transducer data into something like an image, right? And we started off with the discussion on the dynamic receive focus delay and some beamforming, which is like each and every pixel we identify the distance of that pixel from each of the transducers both on the transmit and the receive side. Then we extract those amplitudes from the raw sensor data, and then we apodize all these transducers to bring out that single pixel value. That's the whole concept, right? And then we realize that delay and sum is actually purely geometry driven. It's not really adaptive to the data other than the delay compensation part or the dynamic focus part. So then we moved on to the nonlinear beamforming, where it was delay, multiply and sum, which was discussed in the last lecture. And the core concept there is like to identify the apodization weights from the data itself, right? So what we did is we did cross multiplication between a transducer and all other transducers, and similarly for other transducers as well. And effectively the operation that we are doing actually enables us to do sort of a correlation between the transducer and all other transducers, and to use that as an apodization function. And hence we got better lateral resolution, we got better contrast resolution, we got better suppression of clutter and noise as a result of this particular process. And that's also known as a nonlinear beamforming, because that is a multiplication operation which brings out the power of that beamforming, right? And then you can actually think of, if a simple multiplication can do that, then I can do a lot of data adaptive beamforming, right? Purely based on that delay compensated data, can I do something extra to find out the apodization weights rather than just simple multiplication? So that's the crux. So we will discuss on one of such approaches known as minimum variance beamformer, MV beamformer, which is actually shown here. Okay, so it's extremely important approach, but unfortunately what's happened actually is both the nonlinear beamforming and the adaptive beamforming, they are data dependent and they are slow and computationally complex, hence they are not very popular when it comes to actual real-time implementation which is available in modern day machines yet. So but there is a lot of work going on in improving the speed by using maybe neural network accelerators and all to enable them more real time, and then probably if that happens they will come to the picture in commercial systems and replace the delay and sum beamforming. But in the most of the practical devices which are available, imaging devices which are available, the beamforming to go for is delay and sum. But it's important that at academic level you are exposed to these advanced stuff so that you are aware of such techniques. Okay, so without any further delay, let's actually move on and understand what is adaptive beamforming. So as usual, I typically do is we will quickly review what delay and sum beamforming is, because if somebody is not following, so that they can also come to speed with what I'm saying. Okay, so delay and sum beamforming is basically something like for each and every pixel k, you identify the value in such a way that first step is identify the data corresponding to each and every transducer. So that is this part, right? So you identify the delay corresponding to that pixel to each and every transducer. So I stands for the transducer number, and then extract that amplitude. That's what this particular equation says. Extract that amplitude corresponding to the transducer and to the pixel, and then you have to weight the transducers accordingly and sum them up so that you get that pixel value. And then of course the further post processing of envelope detection and log compression and all, I need not talk all the time, but that should be understood by you by now. Okay, but then the problem with delay and sum beamforming is like this is geometry driven. The apodization weight is not at all depend on xik or x of t. So we need to actually we can even calculate this prior because it's just geometry, and that is advantage of delay and sum beamforming. But then the disadvantage is like that may not be the best optimal weights that you can put. Okay, so that led us to the delay, multiply and sum beamforming. So here what it does is you are going to multiply two adjacent transducers, in fact all transducers except by itself, right? That's what it is happening. So if we have S representing one transducer, Sj representing the other transducer, Si and Sj, so two transducer delay compensated data, then what we are going to do is we are multiplying them, but then multiplying them will make the power of the signal. We are not interested in power, we have to come to the amplitude, so we have to take square root, but then the signals are having negative and positive values, so we need to do this way: sine of the product multiplied by the square root of the absolute of the product. And if you are keen in block diagram representation, this is what it does. But then the important aspect is like multiplying two transducer signals effectively brings you two components in the output. One is actually on the baseband 0, and the other one is at 2 times the transmit frequency, or 2 times f0. So we are only interested in the 2 times f0 component, hence we have to do a band pass filter at the output. And then of course, as I said at the start of this lecture, the advantage of such an approach is we are bringing the correlation of the transducers into picture, because we are sure, right, one transducer and the other transducer are observing the same space in front of it, so there is some redundancy between them. So we are trying to explore that redundancy by multiplying the values of each of these transducers. So that's exactly, so correlated values get amplified and uncorrelated values sort of get suppressed. That is the crux of this approach, which is extremely important. Okay, so let's actually come to the main topic of discussion in this lecture, right? That's the important aspect. So delay and sum to minimum variance. So what is that happening? Okay, so delay and sum, again I just put the equation again here. So now the question is actually, can this WIK, the weights, the apodization weights WIK, be data driven? Okay, that means specifically, can it be dependent on this XIK component? Because we are anyway having this component, and let me just to give a picture of it, let me actually write down the dimensions so that you have some intuition of what is happening. Okay, so here it is. Let me just change to pen. Yeah. So let's assume there are 128 transducers. That means NC is 128. Okay, so 128 antenna arrays, 128 transducers, 128 sensors. Let's assume that, and then that and only for one pixel we are going to consider. Okay, and then that means this XIK, this particular guy overall over n channels will be like 1 cross 128. Or rather, let's put it in terms of column vector terminology, because that's very common. That means 128 cross 1 column, but 128 values, and each value corresponding to each transducer for this pixel. Okay, so we are only concentrate on one pixel. And then similarly W, okay, this guy W is actually, so this is the dimension of X, and then W is also same. You can say 128 cross 1, because you need to weight each and every transducer with some value W, and our objective is to find this W dependent on this dependent on this X. So what typically people follow is a very many approaches are there, but we are going to talk about only minimum variance in this case. So let's actually, for the sake of easiness of representation, I'm going to put this guy, this particular guy, in terms of this guy, in terms of its matrix multiplication. Okay, something like this. So you can think of W is, as I said, this is, in our case I was talking about 128 cross 1, and this is 128 cross 1 again. Okay, so W is nothing but your weight matrix going from first channel to the NCS channel, and X is nothing but another vector, again column vector, which is again 128 elements, if it is NC is equal to 128, if that is the case. Then you have x1, otherwise generalized version x1 to xnc, and just think that this is just that amplitude, right? You have a signal. So again, if somebody is not still following it, you have a signal. Let's say your x1 signal is like this. So this is the x1 signal against time. So you identify this tau ik, then what you're going to do is, just let's say this is tau ik, this point is tau ik. So in this amplitude, whatever amplitude, that will form this guy. And similarly there is for x2, x3, x4, etc. it gets, right? So that's the idea. So but the matrix, beautiful representation in terms of matrix is y is W transpose into X. So you can think of something like W, the dimension was 128 cross 1. I'm just taking an example. This is also 128 cross 1. So W transpose means 1 cross 128 multiplied by 128 cross 1. This is W transpose. This is X, so that means 1 cross 1. So that is that single pixel value. That's what I'm talking about. Okay, so very interesting, right? I mean, sometimes when we want to implement in MATLAB or Python you don't really need to go in this sort of a for loop method, but you can easily represent that in terms of a matrix. Now the discussion point is not that. The discussion point is how to find out that W dependent on X. Many approaches, as I said, are available in literature. So if you search for adaptive beamforming, you will find lots of approaches, but let's concentrate on minimum variance approach to start with. So what does minimum variance does is, minimum variance tries to minimize the variance of Y. So Y you have here, so this is the expression for Y, of course, but minimum variance try to reduce the variance of this Y, and we already know that this is sort of a RF data, so it is centered in 0. There is no DC component to start with because it is somewhere in some frequency f0, so there is no problem there. So there is no DC component. So variance means just square of this particular value Y, right? So that is, variance means power of Y. So basically I want to minimize the power of Y. So in terms of mathematical expression, it is as simple as this. So W is the variable that I want to identify. What W gives me minimum Y squared. That's the answer. Okay, so because remember that we know X is known with us, we know we don't know Y, okay, but we want to estimate W such a way that Y square is minimized. So it's like, you can think of something like, you start with some random value of W, some 128 cross 1 random values of W, you evaluate this Y, then you square it up, you have a number, right? Then you change to another value of W, and then you do again evaluation of Y, and then square it off, you have another value. Now you compare these two Y square values for different W's, and if you think that the second one is having lower Y square value compared to the first one, that means you will go for the W selection which is for the second one, right? So that is how you optimize generally if you are talking about an optimization problem. Now we can do further simplification. I know what is Y. Y is W transpose X, so I can put it this way, W transpose X square. And those who studied linear algebra and matrix theory can easily correlate. Others can just assume that whatever I am saying is correct, but let me just quickly derive for you. So in matrix terms, this can be represented as W transpose X into W transpose X transpose. Okay, so you can represent this square term as something like this. And then of course this is W transpose X, and then if you do a product transpose, it will be something like the second term transpose divided, multiplied by the first term transpose. So second term transpose is X into X transpose, and then W transpose transpose is W, right? Or if somebody is confused, let me put this way. So this is something like W transpose X, X transpose W, okay, because the transpose of W transpose is transpose. So one more thing, this is for those who go into exact details. We are always talking about beamforming in RF, but there is a way to do beamforming in IQ, I and Q, in phase and quadrature signal. If you are still not aware of that, please go back to the previous lectures, we have explained that. So if we are using I and Q, the problem is that signal is no more real signal, it is complex signal. It will have a real and imaginary part. So if that is the case, instead of transpose, you have to take Hermitian transpose, WH. That means complex conjugate and then transpose. Okay, so that's the meaning of it. So I hope this is clear. So let me actually, okay, if I am confusing that Hermitian transpose, you can ignore. Let's always do in RF real signal, doesn't matter. So basically the thing is, this can be simplified as W transpose X into X transpose into W, and minimize that W. Whichever value of W gives me minimum value for this, that W I will select as the final W. Okay, so that's the concept. Now what is this term, X into X transpose? This is really interesting term. So you are sort of correlating, this is something very similar to what you were doing in DMAS, right? You have a vector of X and you are basically transposing that. So X, this guy is basically transposed. Okay, so then you are doing sort of, so let me put the numbers in. So 128 cross 1 is your X, and then X transpose will be 1 cross 128. So if I do this multiplication, I will get 128 cross 128. This is like this matrix, X into X transpose, and this is nothing but a covariance matrix in terms of statistics, or correlation matrix also you can call. Why it is covariance is basically because it is zero mean. There is no mean in the signal. That is why we call it as, otherwise we can call it as correlation if you are confused. It's the same. Difference between these two actually is this guy will have mean, there will be some bias, this guy will not have mean, because we are working with RF data. There is no DC component, there will not be any mean. So we can call this guy, this matrix, as covariance matrix to start with. Okay, and it is as simple as the correlation that we were doing in DMAS. It's very similar to that, but here we are doing auto correlation also, and then x12 and x21 are all calculated. That's why we have a 128 cross 128 matrix to start with. Okay, so I hope it's pretty clear. So let me call this guy as some matrix R, and that is nothing but, you can always think of it as a covariance matrix. So we'll go to the details of calculation of that and some signal processing approaches to make it robust and all later, but let me put this way. So this is what minimum variance beamforming is all about. This one line that is shown over here, this particular, so this particular line, what I'm actually showing you here, this is what minimum variance beamforming is all about. So let me reiterate in terms of intuition. So you are going to minimize W transpose RW, that is nothing but power of your signal, estimated signal Y. Okay, and you know that W is what you are trying to estimate. R is nothing but the covariance matrix, or X into X transpose, as simple as that. And then of course, if you go for this expression alone without any constraints, any conditions, then you can take any value of W, right? You can literally take any value of W, and that is going to take you a lot of time. But we know one thing very sure: we have NC number of transducers and we want to weight them. W is nothing but some weights, and we know that the total weights is 100%, right? Let's normalize in terms, total weight should sum to 1. Okay, so that's one important condition, very very important condition, because what I want is 100% weights. You distribute that 100% across the NC transducers, I don't care, but they should all sum to 100%. 100% is nothing but 1, and that is exactly this condition is. W transpose, there is a vector A, I will come to this, and that total thing should be 1. And this A is actually known as steering vector. Steering vector means you are reconstructing a pixel, so you have to actually ensure that you estimate the signal component which is corresponding to the delay to that pixel. That we are already doing in this step, right? We are already doing here. So X in our case is already delay compensated or focused signal, receive focused signal. I hope you understand what I'm saying. So this is already done. So in this case, in our case, it can be just a vector of ones. Okay, you don't need to do anything, just all ones, something like an array of ones or vector of ones, whichever way you want to call it. Okay, so that means this is 1, you don't have to really care about this. And then literally it says that W transpose A is equal to 1. That statement actually says that you choose any value of W, you can choose any value of W, doesn't matter, but that sum of W should be 1. Okay, so those who are not tuned to optimization, those who never learned optimization, those who never learned linear algebra will be worried about the equations here, but I just want to make it simple and want to make you understand that what we are essentially doing is we want to minimize the power of Y square. Okay, so you minimize the power of Y square, but what is a variable? I should have a variable, right? And that variable is W. So you choose some values of W each time, you calculate Y square and you see where it is minimized. And we know that Y is actually W transpose X. So if you put all these, you get this beautiful expression here, which essentially says that R is nothing but a measure of the covariance or a correlation of your transducer array. And then you put different values of W and see where it is minimized. This expression is minimized, and of course I can't just take any value of W, I just constrain that W, all the values of W should sum to 1. Okay, so that's the meaning of it. Okay, I hope you are able to appreciate it. So very very interesting concept, and now you will be thinking how to approach this problem, how will I solve this problem. So one way, very trivial way, is something like I choose one set of W. So let me call it as W1, capital W1. So that means so many W values are randomly chosen, and this will give me some value for Y. Let me call it as Y1. And then W2, that is another set of W values which will give me Y2. And Y1 is nothing but, always remember, it is W transpose RW. Okay, so W1 transpose RW1 if you are very particular, and this is basically W2 transpose RW2. When I say W2, is not just one value but an array of values, different values. And similarly you calculate and you see wherever y1 is y is minimized, so that minimum y, the corresponding set of w, you just choose it. That is one very trivial way, but but that's really time consuming process, and that's where linear algebra actually helps us. And I'm not going to the derivation of it, but those who studied linear algebra, it's quite straightforward way to derive this expression. Okay, and the way to actually solve this is this particular expression is quite straightforward in linear algebra. If I solve it, I get something like this. So from this expression, these two conditions, if I put according to linear algebraic derivation, you will end up in getting this particular formula. Okay, so this is what you just need to. So there is no optimization required. All you need to do is find. So first step, of course, the first step is delay compensation, right? So this will give me x, that capital X. Don't forget it is actually x1, x2, etc., xnc. So don't forget that. Okay, and then second step is calculate the covariance matrix. Straightforward way is actually x transpose x, right? That's what you get it. Okay, so third is, so R basically is x transpose x, and then A we already know it is just a vector of 1, so you have all ones, 1 1 1 1, those many, I mean 1 total is nc cross 1. Okay, so those many ones, so A transpose basically you can say this is. Okay, so that's it. So only you need this much, and then of course third is actually to solve this equation. So for each and every pixel, of course, you need to repeat this process, and that's why it's a time consuming effort, because this w we can't priori determine. We need the r, that means we need the data to identify this. You just put this expression, so inverse of r. So inverse of r is actually not that easy task. Those who studied linear algebra, you can understand that inverse can create a lot of issues in your code. So but there's no way out. This is the way to solve it. So you solve this expression, you get the value of w, and once you have w, you can always find the delay the final pixel value by w transpose into x. That's it. X is already known to us, w you estimated from here, and then you can find out y. One thing very guaranteed here is like that y should be having the minimum variance in our case. Okay, so I hope it's pretty clear. And then one thing I just want to make it slightly complicated for you is here is, instead of actually r being a symbol, so r being a symbol x transpose x case, this for example I can tell you in the case of a 128 cross 1 case, this, r will be 128 cross 128. Instead of that, people do is don't take the entire 128 at a time. You do small apertures at a time. So you take small subsets, let's say 32. So first will be 1 cross 32. This next will also be 1 cross 32, but then this one will be ranging from 1 is to 32, first sensor to the 32nd sensor, and then this will be 2 is to 33, and then another 1 cross 32 will be 3 is to 34, and so on. Okay, so I obtain this sort of thing, and then what they are doing is they do a transpose between them, and then you basically sort of sum them up for all the cases, all these cases. So each of the cases you find sort of let me call this as x hat. So you all the time you find out x hat transpose x hat. This is also x hat transpose x hat. This is another x hat transpose x hat. Let me call some name to it. Let's call this as x1, first subaperture. So let's this is x1, this is x2, this is x3, and so on, and each time, and finally you need to add all them together. That's what the summation says. Okay, so what is exactly, just to reiterate what exactly we are doing is, instead of finding that x transpose into x for the entire transducer array, we divide the transducers into small apertures, and then you find out the x transpose x for each of the sub apertures, and then add them together, and then put that single value. So what the effect that you are getting is sort of a spatial smoothing, because you are dividing the entire transducer array into smaller arrays, and then you find out for each one of them and then you add them together, it's like averaging, right? So that's exactly you are doing. So just to understand this equation, so you, let's say I'm going to have an aperture of L, that means L sub apertures, so L is always L is way less than NC, and typically I think if I remember correctly, this is should be less than or equal to NC by 2 for good performance, at least half aperture, okay, you could say. So this is some weightage you are taking that you can ignore. But then what important actually is you are going I equal to 1 to NC minus L, and each time you have an x1 transpose. So what is this guy? Is this exactly what is happening here? Okay, so you just see this is I. Okay, so that I is actually, I think I put L here, maybe it's wrong. This is I. Okay, so this I is basically varying here. So let's say I equal to 1, that means x1, x2, x3 up to, if L equal to 32, it will be up to 32, right? One, or in fact 32 elements is 33, right? And then I equal to 2 means x2, x3, x4 up to 34, and so on. So each time you calculate the covariance matrix and then add to the previous case. So first subaperture covariance matrix, second subaperture covariance matrix, third subaperture covariance matrix, then add all of them together and then normalize by this particular number. That is your matrix, and then you put in the same expression here. That's the only thing. And of course this A value will not be a vector of 1s by size NC, it will be size L. That's the only difference. I hope it's pretty clear and very, very interesting. So these are all advancement of minimum variance beamformer, and there are many other advancements also which I won't be talking about because that is an advanced class. Even when the course syllabus was prepared, the reviewers were skeptical about whether to talk about this approach at all. But then I thought it's important that I give that essence to all of you. Some of you may be using all these techniques in your research at some point of time. So if you're stuck at delay and sum, because if you think that delay and sum is the only possible way, then you are wrong. So many other approaches like delay, multiply and sum, and then now minimum variance is all possible, and that's the objective here. It's not like giving a very deep dive into these approaches, but just to give a feel that data driven approaches are also popular. Okay, so very, very important stuff. Okay, so having said that, having blabbered a lot of things, now what is that we get by doing such a thing? Okay, so you need to see some results, right? I just took some results from these papers. By the way, if somebody is interested to explore further, these two are the papers that you should look at. You can see that it's not a very recent work, so you can imagine a lot of work on top of these two papers, 2002 and 2000. I think this is 2007. Yeah, these two. We are already in 2021, so you can imagine a lot of work has happened. So this is basically a fandom which has two wires, just like we discussed in the delay, multiply and sum. So if you see over here, the delay and sum is not able to distinguish those two fandoms as we go down the depth, and this is minimum variance with that L value. So subaperture length of 18, that means 18 transducers are considered together. So something like 1 is to 19, then 2 is to 20, 3 is to 21. So each time you calculate the covariance matrix, then add them together and then put in that expression, find the weights and then find the pixel values. So that's the way we go ahead, right? So with L equal to 18, you have slightly better result than the DAS. When L equal to 32, you can start to distinguish these two wires, and when L equal to 48, you are actually going to get these wires crystal clear. So it's very, very important that what we are essentially seeing is an improvement in lateral resolution. You could see it that way, right? Much better than the DAS algorithm. Now what is the problem? As we increase the L, your matrix size is going to increase. Your R size is going to be 48 cross 48, and then inverting such a matrix, as I said, those who know linear algebra can understand that inverting a very large matrix is always risky and always painful and always computationally complex. So that's a big problem. There are techniques to overcome some of those limitations, but that makes it much more complex, right? And then this is of course some fandom data. Let's actually see some cyst data. This is actual inside sort of mimicking an organ, and you can see very clear that the delay and sum doesn't have that contrast compared to this. And of course you could claim that towards the end there is sort of contrast loss for minimum variance also, but if you see the speckle pattern and all, this is much clearer and much better. The sidelining is also much better. So there is a lot of improvement in the case of a minimum variance beamformer compared to DAS. But having said that, let me reiterate it. The problem here is computation. Okay, so it's a trade-off for you. So if you're working on MATLAB, Python, and I don't care about result in real time, you can always go to DMAS and MVB for better result compared to DAS. But realistic systems where doctors do the scan or some NDE scanning happens, non-destructive evaluation scanning happens, people expect to see the result in real time. In such cases, delay and sum is still the better choice. Okay. Okay, so that's sort of covers the beamforming aspect, the receive beamforming aspect in total, basically from the reflection imaging perspective. So we started off with the symbol delay and sum, receive delay and sum. Hope you enjoyed that. Then we moved on to the delay, multiply and sum in the last lecture. Hope you also understood that. And in this lecture we talked about something like a minimum variance beamforming approach, where we are actually sort of identifying the apodization weights or estimating the apodization weights from the data itself. We are not priori calculating it like in DAS, but on the fly we are calculating it from the delay compensated data X itself. But the important thing is like complexity is very, very high. Okay, so with that I will stop this particular lecture. Okay, hope you enjoyed, and we in fact sort of completed the module 3 also, and module 4 and module, in fact some topics from module 4 is also covered in module 3, so I don't want to distinguish them together, I mean distinguish between them. And then some remaining topics are left which we will be covering in the next few weeks. Okay, so I think just for you to get used to it, because I understand that some of these topics are a bit complex, so for you to digest, I won't be uploading a lot of videos. These are short crisp videos, but a lot of content is there, so I want to thoroughly enjoy this, thoroughly understand this, and thoroughly appreciate it before we move on to the other aspects of imaging. So one important aspect I have not touched upon is the transmission imaging, where modalities like X-ray or CT works. So we'll have a dedicated session next week on the basically the imaging on the transmission imaging sort of per se. So we'll come to that in more detail when we discuss about that later. Okay, so that's all from me this week as well. So it's bye, and see you in the next lecture. Thank you.